Hey everybody, it's Sanana. Today we're going to talk. I'm going to give you a little reading on voodoo, one of my favorite subjects. Voodoo. Okay, the word voodoo comes from voodoo, meaning God, spirit, or sacred object in the Bon language of West Africa. The word voodoo comes from voodoo, meaning God's spirit or sacred object in the Fan language of West Africa. It is applied especially to the beliefs and practices found in Haiti, whose inhabitants are for the most part descendants of slaves imported from many parts of Africa, and by extension to similar practices in other Caribbean islands and in the southern states of America and in Brazil, where plantation slavery was also customary. To Westerners, the word usually denotes black magic and uncouth superstition, such as sticking pins into dolls, casting spells, lighting black candles in cemeteries to Baron Samedi, the lord of the underworld, patron of all black magic. Calling up the dead. I missed my place. uh, the Westerners, the word usually denotes. To Westerners, the word usually denotes black magic and uncouth superstition, such as sticking pins into dolls, casting spells, lighting black candles in cemeteries to Baron Samedi, the lord of the underworld and the patron of all black magic, calling up the dead, and being familiar with monsters, spirits, zombies. In Jamaica, such activities are known as abua, and certainly Haitians are quite familiar with them. However, voodoo also refers to a systematic religion in which the gods descend and possess their worshippers, in, in which the ancestral spirits are invoked to give oracles and be a power in the household. These two aspects of voodoo make a whole, and it is not always easy to distinguish them because the superstitions of voodoo provide a forcing ground for the religion, which in turn supports and develops their meaning from the art. From the start, children are brought up to be good by being made afraid of the supernatural, and it leaves an indelible imprint in the minds of highly educated people. They are taught not to get their heads wet, especially with dew, because water is both a solvent and a magnet for spirits, and a man's spirit lives in his head. At night, besides, there are bogies about, and doors and windows are carefully closed to keep them away. There are some who can get through the thatch. These are the looper girls, or witches, who like are sometimes seen whizzing through the night like midday is another dangerous time, for then no man casts a shadow, which is as much as to say that his soul was temporarily disappeared, soul and shadow being equated, and that the air is full of invisible spirits looking for his abode. Children are forbidden to play with their shadows by candlelight, lest they tie them in knots or mislay them. And there is always the Tantan Makuti, the traveling magician with a satchel over his shoulder, in which he has magical and medicinal plants, dried bits of wild cat, black candles, and other paraphernalia. Mothers threaten children that if they are not good, the Tantan or make off with them. It is fitting that the name was given to the bully boys of the Duvalier regime who carried out this threat upon their political rivals. In such an atmosphere, Obeah is used either to counter such hobgoblins of the mind or to make use of them, and its practitioners are medicine men. And medicine, in this sense, is something with either magical or pharmacological properties, sometimes both. Consider, for example, the treatment given to a child suffering from the attacks of a loup-garou. It is pale, fretful, wasted, and sometimes goes into convulsions. His mother is anxious, suspecting foul play, and her anxiety makes the child worse. The medicine man, he may be a Tantan Makute, a Bakua, sorcerer, or Hugon, voodoo priest, has been killed, has thus to kill one bird, and he does it with two stones. He discovers who the witch is, usually a relative or a neighbor who is jealous and resentful of the mother, and works a magic to protect the child and send the black magic back to its creator. But he also doses the child with castor oil because intestinal worms can produce convulsions in young children. The child gets better, the mother is relieved, the witch confesses, and the poisonous atmosphere is dissipated. The large good angel. The object of magic is to affect the soul, either of the victim or of the perpetrator. The soul is called the Gros Bon Ange, the large good angel, and is manifested in the shadow and the breath. It coexists with the T-Bon, the little good angel, which is equated with the penumbra, the spirit of, which is equated with the penumbra, the spirit of the conscience. It is sometimes called the zombie. Both inhabit the corpse, cadaver, or corpse body. The weak element in this ensemble is the gross bonage, without which the other two elements lose contact. It is easily infected by emotions, especially those of suspicion, resentment, envy, anger, lust, by sudden shocks such as death in the family, a failure in business, or being jilted. It can also be stimulated magically by casting of spells, the use of magical powers, or of complicated pieces of apparatus called wanga. For instance, a girl being courted will try to hook her man by serving him dishes in which she has put a piece of bacon she has worn on her shoe for 3 days, running her nail and hair clippings, even in her menstrual blood. She is cold towards him. He may discreetly blow on her a powder composed of dry hummingbird flesh and a large number of potent herbs. If she is living with another man, however, he will first use a powder called break the household, which causes quarrels. To defeat an enemy, he can have recourse to another kind of leaf powder, often containing dead men's bones and cemetery earth, and held to cause paralysis, blindness, impotence, or death. Smearing the door of an enemy's house with human dung causes much anxiety. To dig up the bones of his father's corpse is even worse, or highly sophisticated kinds of black magic and necromancy can be performed with them. Now, here's an interesting thing. President Duvalier was done that way. They dug his bones up. Um, the President Duvalier, they dug his bones up. Mm, 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 mm. Magic is nothing less than underhand intention given symbolic form and used to create an expectation in its victim. Given the atmosphere in Haiti, nearly everyone expects the worst from some of the neighbors and hopes for the best for himself. There are two dangers in using magic, however. If improperly used or sent back by a strong magician onto its perpetrator, it can cause what is called a shock in return, which is difficult to cope with. On the other hand, it may be so powerful that it is made constant attention. The entire the intensity the entity embodying this kind of magic is called a baka, and the owner of this supernatural monster must be prepared to offer it the life of one of its relatives every year unless he is to be devoured by it himself. Bakas are greedy and are used for greedy men to gain power and money. The service they require shows that paranoia is not far in the offing. Paranoia is defined as a form of insanity marked by fixed delusions, especially those of grandeur, pride, and persecution. On the level, it can be said that in its most innocuous form is the common soak, or what Haitians call Mari sang, bad blood, caused by a failure of expectation and authority, and with a plentiful a mixture of surprise and suspicious resentment. More of our sayings sometimes became so involuted that a cessament or seizure results, whereupon a magician or voodoo priest is called in to diagnose and treat the disorder. The diagnosis is usually straightforward, and the main treatment is to wash the patient's head with water in which 7 or 21 leaves of different plants have been shredded. This cools the head and brings the gross bond back to its proper place. A counter magic is employed in influence the person the soaker is involved with. But sometimes the diagnosis and treatment are both at fault, and the victim is left to his mania until he is lucky, which he frequently is. He has a vision in which his malady is personified as a spirit. The spirit prescribes a remedy for the illness, such as a diet of charred maize and water, but remains with the patient even when the cure is completed. For it always gives a formula by which it can be invoked in the future, such as looking at a candle flame, or reciting the Pater Noster backwards 7 times. And this allows the patients to set up a small time oracular priest or priest. It's pretty rough. They got it going on. They call up demons. Okay, now let me see. The case histories of voodooists. That's pretty hard to say. But sometimes the diagnosis and treatment are both at fault, and the victim is left to his mania until he is lucky, which he frequently is. He has a vision in which his malady is personified as a spirit. The spirit prescribes a remedy for the illness, such as a diet or charred maize and water, but remains with the patient even when the cure is completed, for it is also gives a formula by which it can be invoked in the future, such as looking at a candle flame or reciting the Paternoster backwards 7 times. And this allows the patient to set up a small time ocular priest or priestess diagnosis and treating illnesses, giving advice, and doing black and white magic to cure them. So after they get the vision, they say they get the vision, they get a vision. Then they say Well, this demon stay with me now. So he's gonna be telling y'all all the cures. Ooh, the case of histories for these voodooists show that disordered emotions of long standing can be precipitated by an apparently trivial incident. A man can make A man may smoke a cigarette or drink a cup of coffee given to him by a neighbor he has long mistrusted and who has given him a meaningful glance. He goes off in agitation, becomes hysterically dissociated, and vomits up such unlikely emblems of his discomfort as lizards, pieces of bark, or a large poisonous centipede. This is equivalent to a possession, and the vomiting brings him back to himself. He then puts what he has vomited in a bottle and taps it up with rum. It becomes his guardian spirit and oracle, while the liquor can be used as a universal medicine for those in need of treatment. Other sufferers vomit up needles, which they later use in their magical practice, swallowing them when the spirit leaves them in readiness for the next occasion. Still others go sleepwalking and pick up interesting shaped stones to which the spirit leads them. These stones are placed in saucers, hot rum is poured over them and set aflame. The liquor again used as a medicine, usually an embarkation. What happens in these and similar cases is that the gross bonds Ange has externalized its infection, which is then used homeopathically to treat the infections of other sufferers. That's it for me today. It's a lot more to read. Oh no, I might can go on. It's only one more page. It was hard for me. Oh no, it's some more. Oh, voodoo is big. Oh yeah, I'm gonna take a break. That's rough. I'll see y'all tomorrow.